Welcome to Talking Schmitz. I'm your host, Nate Schmitz. The goal of this show is to help you improve both mentally and physically. Enjoy the show.
So today's episode, we're going to be turning up the heat.
Ooh, well said.
Right, Nate?
Well said, yes.
Really wanted to talk today about the beauties of heat and how that can affect our health.
Yes, and impact essentially our recovery processes, enhance all the other things that we hopefully, not to should on people, but should be doing in terms of eating well, moving well, and sleeping well. So heat is something we can add to that to enhance all of those things and essentially optimize our results. And hopefully it's the lower hanging fruit for most people to feel better with minimum effort, because to a degree our goal is constantly applying the minimum effective dose principle for all of you guys out there.
Yeah, and heat is not going to be a panacea that fixes everything in life, but can have some wonderful health benefits. But can we even just put a definition? How would you define heat therapy?
Like anything for progress, you're going to have to embrace being uncomfortable. Start with heat that usually, hopefully in like a room or a sauna or steam room, that is uncomfortable for you to be in. Whereas, don't get me wrong, there are some wonderful relaxation benefits from, say, a hot tub. But most people thoroughly enjoy being in a hot tub, because especially in cooler weather, because it just feels good. So you're not going to get the heat benefits per se from a hot tub. And so heat therapy is going to be something beyond the hot tub.
Like a sauna or a steam room, going into a hot place to increase our internal body temperature?
Correct.
Or would a hot car work?
Technically, you could do hot car therapy in the summer if you really wanted to. That is very budget friendly. If you have a car, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, though.
That's true. Some parents give their kids hot... No, I'm just kidding.
Kids and dogs get free hot therapy in the summer. But generally, yes, you are on point with steam rooms and saunas, and even, pinpoint precision heat therapy for general injury recovery. Like some of the wraps can be considered under the blanket of this. But today we're focusing mostly on the rooms that you can go into, i.e. the steam rooms and the saunas.
Which most health clubs have. I used to look at those rooms and go, what's the point? I'm just going into a room to sweat. What are some of the main health benefits, if any, I could maybe expect from something like this?
The biggest benefits you're going to get are enhanced recovery and enhanced detoxification because you're sweating. But they can also enhance, say, longevity and cardiovascular health as well.
Sure, and that extra boost for the cardiovascular health goes hand in hand with the recovery. Going into a heated environment like that, we're boosting our circulatory system, increasing blood circulation. The blood carries all sorts of fun things all throughout the body, including waste products for the detoxification, bringing oxygen nutrients to our cells. That's why it can be beneficial for that recovery aspect, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And generally with that increased blood flow, even the sensation of sore muscles, because you have more things taking the buildup out of the tissues, that calcium buildup out of the tissues, you're going to feel
Lactate.
less soreness. And so you can move a little bit more, which is one of the good things to do, not intensely. Test your ranges of motion while in the heat to encourage better recovery in the muscle tissue so that things don't get as, say, stiff as people are used to feeling.
Sidebar, is that what hot yoga is?
Hot yoga does have some of the similar premises. The biggest benefit for hot yoga isn't just the sweating, it's the heat allows you to get into those end ranges a lot more easily because the tissues are a lot more malleable and pliable because of the heat. Doesn't necessarily function in, say, normal temperatures because you're training your body exclusively to be pliable in the heat as opposed to training it to be flexible and mobile in normal temperatures. So you're kind of limiting end ranges, whether or not people realize that.
I suppose it's not a perfect fix for mobility issues, but can be helpful when used in moderation and carefully. And you also mentioned that it can also help with immune or inflammatory responses as well, even just the regular sauna use.
Correct. So simplest premise is Our body has natural inflammatory pathways for recovery and immune response, and being in the heat exposure simulates that in a much more controlled manner. So rather than, say, being worried about out of control fever because you've been exposed to a bacteria, virus, whatever, you literally get to control the temperature of your fever in a hot room.
You're inducing fever.
Yeah. And you're encouraging those response mechanisms in the body so that you get more impactful recovery. It's one of my favorites to do personally when I feel a little bit drained or was exposed to someone who was sick. I'll hop into my sauna and feel like $1 million within 24 hours, as opposed to letting my body's natural mechanisms take place, which I do like to encourage. It enhances that rather than a detriment.
So the immune and the muscle benefits that can come with a heat therapy. Personally, I love to use the sauna and the steam room for the mental health benefits.
And another good one.
And the neurological benefits that also come with the sauna. The Stanford Center for Longevity, they said that heat exposure triggers heat shock proteins and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which contribute to improved cardiovascular and neurological health. So that BDNF is like fertilizer for the brain, that when we have higher levels of BDNF, it promotes neurogenesis and creating more synapses and pathways, which can help with like formation of new memories and just making our cognitive function just more sharp in general. People can usually experience this benefit relatively quickly once they start heat therapy.
Oh, yes. And you're stacking that BDNF on top of the already triggered BDNF that you would get from good quality exercise. And so you're encouraging even more, essentially, growth so that you can do faster motor learning, which also enhances recovery in the future so that you have more stable muscles and joints. So it's really, again, this isn't one that you can just do on its own. Not that that doesn't help you, but use the heat therapy as something that really supercharges all of your other benefits of what you're doing from exercise and sleep and movement and even mental work, as well as, again, the detoxification with the increased vasodilation is part of why we get enhanced detox with the heat therapies. You'll also get more nutrition to the brain and more trash out of the brain because of the increased blood flow.
Get that trash out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention the psychological benefits, like you're saying, of really embracing that discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just something samurai awesome about just handling a hot whatever on your skin. What am I saying, Nate?
I don't know what you're saying. But there is a lot of psychological benefits in terms of the heat in any of these is very easy for us to scale. And so we can embrace discomfort literally 1 minute at a time or 1 degree at a time. And it really does increase our mental fortitude and resilience that we can then apply to other areas of life. I've done this one again, quite successfully with many people over the years in terms of, I don't think I can sit in that hot of a temperature. And they're essentially non-believers. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that over and over again. And then after months and years, depending on each person, I guess I can do that extra degree. I can do that extra minute.
Yeah.
And then they start to apply that to every other aspect of their lives and start to believe that they can do things because they've scaled their discomfort, if you will.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, in a way, they're really turning back the clock in some ways. But you also mentioned that if we can turn back the clock with heat therapy, we can even enhance our longevity, which is a real fun word to use in health and wellness, the longevity aspect. Like, how does heat therapy help with longevity?
How does it help with living forever? No.
That's why I'm here today. I want to live forever.
Yeah, so that one, it doesn't help you live forever, but a lot of the same mechanisms that we're mentioning are still in play for longevity, i.e. healthier cardiovascular system, means just healthier delivery of nutrition and disposal of junk, if you will, which the more efficient that is and the more regularly you do it, the tissues and everything are healthier. The other aspect that's really, really cool in terms of recovery is that heat shock proteins you mentioned. So as we get better at developing those, when we do exercise, we're also triggering essentially a lot of heat damage or inflammatory damage.
Right.
And so we develop cleaner proteins to have more resilient tissues to heat exposure. So we get the benefits of heat on the heat on the heat stress we're already triggering on our body. And then even further beyond that one, we're actually targeting our mitochondrial health, which is a really, really big one.
And when it comes to the heat shock proteins, I don't know everything about heat shock proteins.
Nor I.
I just know that I want them.
Yes.
That's all I know is I want some of those heat shock proteins.
Well, in general, and on maybe another talk, we'll get into cold shock proteins, but we just want
Preview.
shock proteins. And it's shock because we're shocking the system with a stressor. Again, scaling stress and our ability to deal with it is one of the primary markers of just resilience, which helps us with longevity. Whether or not anyone out there wants to hear it or likes to hear it, stress is a necessary and never-ending part of life. And so if your body can be more resilient to it, it tends to last longer.
Resilient
enough.
Resilient to the shocks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the Mayo Clinic, the heat therapy can lead to a reduction in oxidative stress and promote repair mechanisms that can support the integrity of telomeres. Telomeres are those structures at the end of our DNA that can be a marker of aging.
Yeah, DNA shoelaces.
If we can support that, then even on a cellular level, we can be turning the clock backwards a tiny bit here with the heat therapy.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many different ways to make our bodies hot. Did you have any kind of recommendations there? I know that you're a big fan of the infrared.
So far as I understand it, that is the number one. So if you have access to infrared saunas, and to further enhance that one, low EMF ones, you're going to be optimizing your heat therapy. But that doesn't mean don't do it. The general scale will go from best to worst, if you will, would be infrared sauna, dry sauna, and then steam room, and then hot car in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
But
Don't let your babies have heat therapy.
yeah.
They're not ready.
Well, yeah, you just don't want uncontrolled heat therapy. But a little bit of exposure, again, here and there is good. But that's the general rule. So infrared, the hot car in the summer. That was going to make me laugh the whole time.
Yeah, that's the poverty level.
No excuses. That's what we're doing. We're eliminating all your excuses. If you don't have access in the summer, you do have access to that heat. So you got it. No excuses.
See, when I was a poor college student with a broken air conditioner in my car, I didn't realize that I was extending my life. So
Yes. Natural heat exposure.
there you go. And because what's really unique about the infrared too, just by its nature, it penetrates the cells at what I understand to be like a deeper level, not just at the surface level of having conductive heat. The infrared rays have benefits for the stem cells, and stem cells are those cells that end up differentiating into all the other important cells that our body needs for specialized functions. So by doing that, it can help promote tissue regeneration and repair. And for the ladies, also the collagen production to keep that skin supple, and also to help with the muscle recovery.
Oh, muscle and connective tissues. Yeah, you touched on a wonderful point with the collagen. That's one of my favorite reasons for infrared and enhanced recovery. Mind you, you do still have to be ingesting collagen so that you have access to those substrates. You'll increase your collagen synthesis and utilization much more in infrared than you would in the other forms of heat, and especially on the deeper tissues. And then for me, the other favorite for infrared is it's technically easier to sit in than the saunas, the dry saunas and the steam rooms.
Yeah.
Because your sensation of the heat is much more subtle while still being uncomfortable, a more comfortable discomfort.
And I read that the infrared saunas, you can have the same benefits of the dry saunas at a lower temperature. So if you're a little sensitive to high heat, just the discomfort of that, you can still get wonderful benefits on an infrared sauna, even between 120 to 150 degree Fahrenheit.
Oh, yes. Yeah, good point. Yes, the temperature range is much friendlier.
Can you tell me more how it can help the mitochondria?
Simply put, it'll help signal to the mitochondria to become more essentially energy efficient, and trigger more genesis of mitochondria. So you're doing mitochondrial biogenesis as well as better mitophagy. So the bad mitochondria essentially are too stressed, so they die off. And so the ones that do replicate are these stronger and healthier mitochondria. So each time your cells replicate, you have more mitochondria and healthier mitochondria, which in turn gives you just energy across the board for all the different mechanisms we previously mentioned.
Every time I hear the term mitochondria, I just think that's one of the most used terms by science people to sound extra smart.
Oh yeah, but they are very important.
They are very important. I just feel like mitochondria is thrown around on like the YouTube so often. It being the powerhouse of the cell, you remember 6th grade biology.
Yes, the mighty mitochondria.
So super important for metabolism and just having energy in general. If we have that extra mitochondrial health, we're just going to have better metabolism and an overall vitality, so to speak.
Oh yes, and even in terms of just cell efficiency for developing the heat shock proteins, more efficient cells with the stem cells, more efficient utilization of the nutrition in the cell because of that. So the collagen that we were mentioning. So the better your cells run because of being more energy efficient and having more healthy energy powerhouses, it just keeps stacking on itself, the benefits of all the things previously mentioned. And that's part of why people make such a big deal out of mitochondria.
And I'm pretty sold here. So now that we talked about all the health benefits that we can get from the sauna, how can we start to implement this in our day-to-day life?
Do it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this has been fun, Nate.
Hopefully properly scale. And the real secret for everyone out there is essentially being humble enough to admit you're a big heat wuss at first and then build off of that as opposed to hard charging. So the initial goal is going to be 1 time a week and work for up to 20 minutes in any sort of heat. So 1 day a week for 20 minutes. But that doesn't mean if you can't do that to just give up. So if you can only do 1 minute in a sauna or steam room, then start with 1 minute and then build up to 5 minutes, 10, 15, and then upwards of 20 minutes.
Just the fact that it's a new stimulus, you're still going to have benefits even starting with just 1 to 5 minutes at first, and then paying attention to your body and how you're feeling as you're moving towards getting to that goal of 20 minutes for a sauna session.
Correct, yeah. And so you'll feel the heat, quite literally.
Yeah.
But you want to get to that 20 minutes, and then to make it easier for people, it's part of why infrared is one of my favorites. It's just a lot more comfortable heat to be in, even though it's still uncomfortable after. Depending on how good you are, a certain amount of time, it's still uncomfortable, but it's a much more comfortable heat. And then to limit the other side of the spectrum of the super hard chargers, don't go over an hour, and more realistically, don't go over 30 minutes. So do 20 to 30 minutes at least 1 day a week, and you're kind of in the golden zone. And then once you can do that 1 day a week, try not to aim for more than 4 days a week of doing it. Yes, you can technically do all 7 days a week. You don't want to overstress your body, just like you don't want to overtrain. So 1 to 4 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes is going to be your ideal windows for heat therapy.
And when would be the best time to implement the sauna use in my workout routine?
You want to do it post-workout. Doing it before your workout doesn't necessarily shortcut the warm-up, even though you're literally warming up your body temperature. It's much better to do something like mimicking your movements or walking on a treadmill to warm up so that you're not fatiguing your body before exercise, because the heat will drain you a bit so that you're not actually maximizing your output during your workout. And then post-workout is when it actually enhances a lot of those inflammatory markers in recovery and develops the heat shock proteins and a lot of the things we went over to help to flush the body and recover the body a lot more effectively rather than depleting the body prior to exercise.
And keep in mind that the sauna is not a replacement for the hard work that we're putting in the gym.
Correct.
If you did do the sauna right before workout, it is a great way to exhaust yourself so that you can do half-ass work in the gym.
Correct. And we don't want to fall for any of the gimmicks out there, i.e. those little ab electrocution devices while in the sauna. Doesn't count as a workout either, so don't do any sort of...
Ab electrocution. That sounds like more shock proteins.
Oh yes, literal shock proteins. But learning how to use your body is very important. So just putting yourself through e-stim while in the sauna doesn't shortcut any of these things, so don't just sit there and hope that it does. Do your workout and then do the sauna.
And can I bring drinks into the sauna? Is that okay?
More than okay. Highly recommended, because you're going to be sweating, especially when you reach that minimum time. Hopefully you're sweating before the 20 minutes, but you're going to be sweating in that 20 to 30 minute window.
That would be pretty bad if you weren't sweating in those 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, you have some other issues that your body's letting you know. One, typically you're not hydrated enough to be in the sauna, and you probably passed out, but...
Your kidneys would have shut down, most likely. That's a good sign.
But you should see enhanced sweating with continued sauna use. And so bringing a drink in is highly recommended. You want a mineralized water or some sort of electrolytes, because you will be losing a lot of those while you're in the sauna. And then don't necessarily worry about a cold drink diminishing the amount of heat shock proteins you generate, because your body's going to stay at that temperature as opposed to dropping to cool temperatures just after one sip of ice water.
You would have to be drinking liquid nitrogen to lose out on the benefits of the sauna.
Yeah, which is another dangerous thing, so don't do liquid nitrogen.
Don't try that. Take it from me.
Lost out on all those gains, did you?
I knew it. I knew it would happen. As with everything that we recommend, do follow up with your doctors to see if this can be a safe option for you, and read any of the warnings and do your own research before embarking in any new healthcare habit.
Oh, definitely. Again, embrace the discomfort. Scale that 1 to 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And start with, ideally, the dry saunas, like infrared or dry, over the steam room for more effective progress, because the challenge of breathing in the steam room is a whole nother mental challenge to embrace that just makes incorporating heat therapy more challenging than necessary.
A steam room can be helpful for the skin in its own ways, just having that extra moisture. And do pay attention to your body and how you're feeling. If you do feel like you're about to pass out, if everything turns black.
Yeah, avoid fainting in a sauna. Not going to maximize your benefits just by sleeping.
Yeah, don't go like Nate told me this was okay. Embrace the discomfort, and then you're having a splitting headache and bleeding out of your ears.
Yes, so dizziness, lightheadedness, prolonged shallow breathing, nausea. Go ahead and step out of the heat and recover. And if it doesn't really disappear, hey, you're done for the day. If it does disappear and you feel like challenging yourself for another 1 to 2 minutes, go right ahead and get back in there. Pay attention to your body. The no pain, no gain is typically only associated with, say, muscle burn.
Yeah, it's okay to step out early. Just know that means you're weak.
Yeah.
Or did I just miss the point?
Well, no, technically you are correct. You are too weak to sustain that stress for longer periods of time, but that's okay. That is how you get stronger, by going, hey, I'm only strong enough to do 5 minutes. And then the next time you do it, which will be hopefully the following week, do 6 minutes. And lo and behold, hey, proof that you're stronger, not necessarily weak. And as you, again, keep scaling this, you'll see just numerous benefits on mood, mental sharpness, lack of soreness, all sorts of different performance enhancements, which is part of why this is a great addition to any good workout, sleep, and diet and hydration routine.
It's one part of the puzzle. And to summarize, implementing heat therapy can be very beneficial for your recovery, your longevity. We recommend doing the infrared saunas and scale in an appropriate way. Pay attention to your body and enjoy the wonder that comes with heat therapy.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's an irreplaceable part of my routine now.
Now get out there and get hot.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
Oh, goodness.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Talking Schmitz. Remember to subscribe, leave us a review, and share us with your friends. Your support helps us reach more people and continue bringing you quality content. You can find us on Instagram at talking_Schmitz, and we'll catch you next time.